Yo guys, what's going on? It's Aaron from ChewOnThat Apologetics, and today I got a juicy video for you guys. Sorry for the lack of upload. I've kind of been lazy for real, but I'm gonna get back to it, and this will be the video that you guys see. So pretty much I'm gonna be answering a comment. If it doesn't take too long, I'll answer a second comment. But this specific guy has been in our comments for, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks, and he's just been saying things, spewing things, and I wanted to answer this one specific comment because it caught my eye, and I honestly thought it was funny, especially when he brought up Numbers 11, because he just completely read it wrong, and I don't know how he didn't notice this. So yeah, let's get right into it. So I'll throw the comment up on screen. Pretty much what he was talking about was how the Holy Spirit is God's active power, His force, and he brought up Matthew 10:20, where it's talking about the Spirit of your Father, the Spirit of the Father, right? And he was like, look, it's the very Spirit of the Father. It's the Father speaking through the people, right? And the problem that he has with this is that when it says Spirit of, it's not because that is literally the Father. It's because the Spirit belongs to the Father. Like, for example, your son belongs to you. But your son is a different person from you, even though he belongs to you. Right? So just to say that it's the Father, or the Spirit of the Father, right? You could say the son of this person, right? And it's like, okay, that's his son. You say the Spirit of this person, okay, that's his spirit because he belongs to the Father. Let me go ahead and get an example. A great example of this is Acts 16 verse 7, where they are trying to enter the gate of Bithynia, but the Spirit of Jesus would not let them. Now, this was not Jesus himself, this was the Holy Spirit, but the Holy Spirit belongs to Jesus and belongs to the Father, so it was the Spirit who was not letting them through. Because, for example, the same book of Acts, in Acts 7, you see Stephen, who is getting stoned, and he sees Jesus in the flesh. He sees Jesus in the flesh, right? So when it actually is the person of Jesus who you're seeing or talking to, the text will make it known. But when it's the Spirit of the Father, or when it's the Spirit of Jesus, it's the Holy Spirit who belongs to them. Next thing, in the same book of Acts, in Acts 13, verse 2, you have the Holy Spirit speaking, and he says, set apart for me Saul and Barnabas. If the Holy Spirit is just an active power, and it's not a person, this would not make any sense. He couldn't speak. Electricity, these very LED lights, the electricity that runs through these, it's not going to start speaking from all corners and going, yo, you got to lock in, twin. It's just there. It's a force. It's electricity, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a person. But the Holy Spirit does speak. He is a person. And as a matter of fact, in John 16, when Jesus is talking about sending the Helper, sending the Holy Spirit, it says that he's going to tell you what he hears. How is a force going to hear anything? And with this guy's comment, he's saying it's the very Spirit of the Father. So he's saying the Holy Spirit is the Spirit of the Father. Well, then who is the Spirit of the Father hearing from when he's getting sent? Because, I mean, he's hearing from the Father in the context. Because in the context, Jesus is saying that the Father is going to send the Holy Spirit, and he's going to tell you what he hears. So he's going to hear from the Father. The Father's going to tell him stuff, and going to send him. Right? So, if it is the very own Spirit of the Father, then now you have the Father telling the Father something, and then sending the Father. It doesn't work. Right? Because they're different, distinct persons. I'll give you another example. Ephesians 4, it says, do not rebel or grieve the Holy Spirit, or they rebelled and grieved His Holy Spirit. You can't rebel, and you can't grieve a force. It is very clearly a separate person. Another thing that he did is, he said the Holy Spirit belongs to the Father and not to the Trinity. I don't know if he knows what the Trinity is, but the Trinity is Father, Son, Holy Spirit, are all three God. And that they're not the same person. So we don't say the Holy Spirit belongs to the Father. Yes, We don't say it belongs to the Trinity, because then you're saying the Holy Spirit belongs to himself and also to Jesus and also... No. He belongs to the Father and he belongs to Jesus. Okay, because when it says Spirit of the Father, it's because he belongs to the Father. Spirit of Jesus, he belongs to Jesus. So as you enjoy this absolutely beautiful picture of me, another thing is that you belong to your Father, right? You belong to your Father, but you're not the same person as your Father, but you have the same nature of your Father. So just saying the Spirit belongs to the Father doesn't prove anything. That just shows they're distinct persons. It makes that difference on purpose. Next thing, he brought up Isaiah 42 when it says, I will put my Spirit upon you. Well, what do we see happen at the baptism of Jesus? The Holy Spirit comes down and comes onto him. And you have the Father speaking. So all three of them are there. You have the Father speaking while the Spirit is coming down. Now, unless you want to say the Father is speaking out of heaven while the Father is coming down, because the Father is Spirit. Right? So, if the Holy Spirit is the Spirit of the Father, then the Father speaking wouldn't make any sense if it was the Father coming down. That doesn't make any sense. That's why we're Trinitarians, is because that makes the most sense. Right? And next thing is... This is so beautiful. I'm going to throw the comment back up on screen. And he quoted Numbers 11:17. And it says, the power of the Holy Spirit, it will come upon you. And then he's saying that as calling the Holy Spirit an it. How do you misread a passage so bad that it's not even English anymore? How can you do that? Now, you were quoting a whole bunch of things in my comments, talking about Second Temple Judaism, right? And talking about some, at the end of the gospel, so that you know Jesus is the Christ, right? But then you quote a passage that doesn't help you. It doesn't. It doesn't prove anything. You're just misreading it and now being dishonest. It literally says, power of the Holy Spirit. If I say the power of God, it will come upon you. I'm not calling God an it. The power is an it. The power. Power of the Holy Spirit. That's all it is. The Holy Spirit is not an it. Because he's called a he and a him. He speaks. He's omniscient. He's spoken to. All these characteristics of a person are applied to the Spirit. But you're probably going to pick and choose and try to say that's anthropomorphic or metaphorical or it's just personifying something, even though there's nothing in the passage that ever ascribes that or makes that clear. Next thing is that he likes to quote Proverbs a lot. He'll quote Proverbs where wisdom is speaking, and he'll be like, oh, look, this is anthropomorphic, but... Hey, so, it's me again. So he tried to quote, or the purpose is that he's quoting Proverbs where wisdom is speaking. And he's like, oh, look, it's personification, it's metaphorical, anthropomorphic, and he's trying to use that as evidence that it's doing the same thing with the Holy Spirit. However, he fails to provide any purpose that this would be done. Like, we know Proverbs is metaphorical. We know it's a poem, but Acts isn't. And I'm going to explain that in the video. Last time I checked, Proverbs is poetic literature. It is. So anthropomorphic language, metaphors, personification, that's expected. That's what we expect when we read poems or poetry or poetic literature. Acts and the Psalms and the Gospels are not poetic literature. They're literal. You would have to find something in the context that would tell you if it's poetic. But you don't. Especially in Acts 13. He literally just says, set apart for me, Saul and Barnabas. That's not metaphorical or anthropomorphic. That's it literally speaking. That's him literally speaking. So, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make a video responding to this comment because I thought it was funny. And he appeals to Second Temple Judaism a lot, and he made the argument, oh, show me one person from this era that said it was a person. I don't have to. I just look at what they say about him, and they say that he loves. They say a bunch of stuff about him that is personal things about him, like loving, he guides people, all this stuff. I don't need to go to Second Temple Judaism when I can just look at the Bible. If they're making their sources off of the Bible, and then I go to the Bible to see what it says, and I see that the Holy Spirit is a person who is God, I don't need Second Temple Judaism. They're not my authority. The Bible's my authority. The church fathers are my authority. Go get them. Right? And you're appealing to Second Temple Judaism when you're not a Jew. I'm pretty sure you're a Unitarian, if I'm not mistaken, because you've never said anything about being a Jew. I'm pretty sure you said you were a Unitarian. But, yeah, I mean, you keep appealing to that. And then I keep appealing to the Bible, and then you're trying to appeal to Second Temple Judaism to override the Bible. No, that's not what we're doing. I'm not going to let you appeal to Second Temple Judaism to override the Bible. Because Second Temple Judaism doesn't even agree with you. It doesn't say the Holy Spirit's not a person. They didn't use language like that. They didn't at all. You won't find anywhere where it calls God a person, but it uses He, and God speaks, He loves, He judges, all things that are personal. And then we apply that to the Spirit, and you're like, nah, bro, anthropomorphic, metaphorical, it's not literal. And we see that, and we're like, dude, you're just being dishonest at this point. That's not how it works. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and that's something to chew on.